Once again, Greenland is back in the news. Trump wanted to buy Greenland during his first term. It was a topic of discussion in the very beginning of his second term. With the seizure and arrest of Maduro, that has created a perception around the world that the United States is even more powerful. That was a nearly flawless military operation. And perception management is a form of power. Obviously, perception and reality, one perceives reality, but to really understand reality, you have to go into it. You have to think about it logically. You have to look at capabilities. Yes, the United States does have the capacity to seize seize a lot of world leaders, maybe with the exception of, say, a country like Russia or a country like China. But nonetheless, the United States has increased its perception that it is obviously the world superpower, but it is a major power in that it has the ability to seize anything around the world. Now, there's been some talk that Trump might use the military to seize Greenland. I don't think that's going to happen. The perception of seizing Greenland is not going to be the same as the perception of seizing the dictator Maduro. Pretty much everybody supports the arrest of Maduro, with the exception of the authoritarians, that is, the establishment in the legacy media, the people on the far left, and communists around the world. They don't like the idea of a dictator, one of their fellow people, being arrested, right? But everybody else is celebrating. The average person, the average Venezuelan, is celebrating. Most Americans support what happened. Military force against Greenland is a different thing. Denmark is perceived to be something of a free country. Granted, if the United States was to take over Greenland, the people in Greenland would be in a freer country than they are currently in Denmark. However, I don't think people domestically will see the seizure of Greenland in a positive light. This is obviously a negotiation tactic to pressure Denmark into selling Greenland. Now, I think everybody would benefit from that. The United States would benefit. Yes, we already have military bases on Greenland. However, we would have full sovereign control over Greenland. We wouldn't have to ask for permission from Denmark to build additional military bases on Greenland. It gives us access to the Arctic. It gives us a quicker jump into Europe geographically. There are the Chinese that are already there trying to exploit the natural resources on Greenland. It gives China a foothold there. The United States is trying to reassert its Monroe Doctrine, trying to claim the entire Western Hemisphere as theirs. And the resources that are there, the United States has the capital to exploit those resources. Denmark does not. Denmark is a small country, doesn't have the military, doesn't have the capital to do it. So that's just the reality of it. So to pressure Denmark into selling Greenland, now I don't support military intervention. I don't support the seizure of Greenland in the same way that I would support the seizure of a dictator of Venezuela. But if the United States does buy Greenland, I think everybody would benefit. Denmark would benefit because it would get a huge chunk of change for it. It would be able to do a lot more stuff at home in Denmark. Greenland, to maintain Greenland, that huge piece of territory, it's a huge burden on such a small country. Whereas the United States can exploit the natural resources there. We would benefit from that. There's rare earth minerals, there's oil and natural gas there. Like I said, it's access to the Arctic. So, we would be able to compete with Russia in the Arctic. And like I've already said, it gives us a quicker jump into Europe. So everybody benefits. The people in Greenland would benefit, obviously. They'd be in a freer country. And they would benefit from the resource extraction that is there. Their economy would benefit massively. So I fully support the purchase of Greenland. Yeah, it's expensive, but it will definitely pay itself off over time. An interesting note, if you look at it geographically, Canada would be boxed in a situation like that. Not that we would go to a war with Canada, but geographically, that would make people in Ottawa a bit nervous. The United States would basically own the territory all around Canada. And again, that would pressure Canada. Not that Canada is already pressured to do what the United States wants economically, because we're their biggest trading partner, and we protect them militarily. But we would also control the sea lanes and the geography around it as well. So buying Greenland would be an excellent idea. I don't support seizing it militarily, though.